recording here. We are rolling. Let me do a check.
Yeah. Wait, is that recorded too? Can you press that button again?
Oh, yeah, I can't put stuff on the edge.
Welcome to Martial Art Mindset. My
The
name is
Blasian Twins. New equipment.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Okay, I think that's enough of us being silly.
Yes.
Oh, let's actually start.
Yeah, let's introduce ourselves.
Let's actually start. Ooh, I think we'll be okay. The battery's low. My name is Calvin,
And my name is Kevin,
and we are
the Blasian Twins.
and this is
Martial Art Mindset.
All right, so it's been a minute since we shot a new episode, new session of this, because of life.
Man, 2 years.
2 years.
We've taken a break for 2 years. I don't know if you guys noticed in the footage of the previous session, at the beginning, we put when it was shot. And it was shot in 2020. So I've noticed people that said, "Oh yeah, I started watching your podcast. It's great that you got it out." It's like, well, all of that was actually shot 2 years ago.
Yeah, we shot 8 episodes of it. And
Nine
nine
or 10, something like that.
something. So, and we were like, we had a schedule. We were meeting up regular times. All these things going on, and we really had our mind, our body, and our spirit tested. All right, so before we go any further, let's say our mantra. All right, mind,
Body.
spirit.
I use my mind to think,
I use my body to move.
and I use my spirit to spread love.
All right, and that was our mantra that we made in our previous episodes, and it's very important because martial arts, yes, we can think about all the punches and the kicks and everything that we can do to hurt somebody, but we also got to keep in mind that our body is fueled by our spirit.
It's all loop. It's all cycled
It's a
together.
loop. So,
And also, I want to say this too. If you're just now watching this episode, this session,
or listening.
or listening, right? YouTube, Spotify, all those things. Please watch the previous sessions because that is our foundation to the mindset that we have laid for this podcast.
Yes, the mindset, because we've learned that, over the quarter of a century that we've been training and over the half decade that we've been teaching martial arts. We're actually in one of the dojos that I teach at.
I'm a program director and a teacher at another dojo. So I was telling him earlier, we were setting up for this podcast, and I was like, man, take a pause for a second. What would our 5-year-old self think about us right now?
They'd be like, you're doing what I pictured you doing. But it's crazy because, like, the journey to get here was nothing I ever expected. Like, honestly, being a martial arts instructor was the last thing I was expected I was going to be doing.
What did you expect you were going to be doing?
Being the big time movies, being that person that after coming out of college was like, hey, I feel like we have a great look. We have something working for us. We're twins. Like, we got these martial arts skills. When we were out of college, we necessarily didn't have the acting, which we knew that. But we had enough confidence for us to be able to make it work. And I thought we would be working in Hollywood.
I thought that too.
In the movie industry.
We actually once we graduated from college, we're thinking, do we move to LA or Atlanta? We wanted to go to LA because we were like, that's where we need to be.
And that's where everybody
And we're
in film school.
We're in Alabama, so think about it.
Alabama. Sheesh, Alabama, which is beautiful. Like, we lived there for the longest time.
And I honestly am thankful that we lived there. After thinking about it, living in Alabama is what has helped with a lot of growth because it allowed for space
To
dream and think. Of course, if I was around certain people that stifled that, then it doesn't matter where you are. but we were always of the mind, like a monk mind. We would go out in nature and all this space, and that allowed our creativity to flow without being disrupted by somebody else.
And it was either usually us hanging out a lot, or we did sports as we were growing up. So we were always exercising, working out, doing something, and of course throughout.
And art too. Also,
Art,
we
yeah.
also like art in different ways, like music and drawing and
Just
on the
anything that we
computer
could learn.
graphics.
We're literally just curious,
And that's because we
about
had the time and space in
everything,
Alabama. Hmm.
right? And because of well, honestly, because of the freedom that our parents gave us, our dad gave us. And
You know why he
we're
gave
gonna-
us that
we're gonna-
freedom?
We're
Because,
actually before we go on deeper, the title of this session is called "Cut Your Losses." All right, and I mean, there's one thing that has been cut.
it's
You
obvious.
haven't
Unless-
noticed. Hold on, I showed a detail earlier, but if you're listening on the audio, you're gonna have to make sure you see the video to see our hair difference, right? So it's called "Cut Your Losses."
And I
Kevin,
had to
who do
cut
we
some
look like? We
losses.
look like the.
Gia pets.
No, he said. Yeah, he said. I look like the before.
Oh yeah, I look like the before version, and he
And
looks
the
like the after.
Yeah.
All right, let's do that before and after thumbnail. Oh, we gotta take this off.
Oh, yeah, just real quick.
Oh, okay, you look off. We both look this direction. Both look that direction. Opposite.
Before and after. All right, just clearly, my hair is better. Obviously.
And if I can share like why I cut my hair, we're gonna go into cutting our losses because I've noticed whatever you do in small things in life, you do in big things in life. So one reason I cut my hair is because it was just damage from years and years of. He told me this too. He warned me about it. Okay, he's like, maybe you shouldn't put your hair so tight in your bun. You're damaging your hair. Maybe you should do it a little looser. And I didn't listen. He's like, no, that's just how I do it. I'm just gonna keep doing it that way. Brush my hair really hard. Put just gel in it. Tie it back really tight in a high bun. And then now when I want to wear it down, it looked okay because the hair on top, that looked fine. But what was underneath was damaged.
What was underneath was damage. All right, and we're going to talk about how our martial art mindset helped us again through the pandemic, because that's really what happened. It affected everybody. It affected that quote dream, which I feel still like is something that can happen. That because we still got a great look, we have so many skills, all these other things that will be on movie screens and TV shows and other things. But I
But
think
we got
it's
our
gonna
own
be-
show.
I think it's going to be in a different way now, because I have totally different clarity about attacking that, about doing that. But let's talk about what's happened, because the pandemic changed our trajectory. We were actually working on Black Lightning before the pandemic happened, and one of the writers of the show, he's like, "Hey, season 4 coming, like, we're thinking of doing some cool stuff. We didn't get any details or whatever." He's like, "Yeah, cool. Like, we know."
Yeah, it
y'all
was
gonna hit
just
us
in
up."
passing on set too. Like,
Yeah.
it's just gonna be season 4.
Mind you, God worked it out where we didn't have an agent and we didn't have a manager, and somehow we still got onto this show. All right.
And we weren't in the union.
So we
when we got
won't
on the show.
won't go over like the full details of that, because if you look at some of our previous things and look at 10 with the Twins on our YouTube channel, you can see more of our things about the film industry. But that's one of the main reasons why we wanted to, because martial arts, when we were kids, we used to watch a lot of movies. So like we naturally want to make movies. Like we went to film school because we wanted to be in front of the camera and behind the camera. And now that the pandemic has happened and it slowed everything down.
Oh man! And you know what we were doing? Literally right when the pandemic, right before the pandemic happened, we planned out starting our martial arts classes, and we started them. So we started conducting them. We did 2 classes, and then March 15th, 2020 came around. Cut all of that out. We tried to do virtual, but it was just, we didn't have the plan to back it up. Being held back in your place, you get depressed. And we didn't have the tools to help us grow out of that right away. So But yeah, literally
Yeah,
right before
so
the pandemic.
it's just crazy because some of the great things that, yeah, I had to cut the losses, but there's some great things that happened. So since then, I've actually, in 2021 is when I started teaching full time. And before that, I was self-employed for 3 years as a videographer and shooting, editing.
And professional Instacarter. What else did you do? You did Instacart?
Instacart, Uber Eats. I mean, a bunch of jobs since I've been here. But like when I was self-employed, it was one of those kicks where I was like, yo, if I'm gonna have the freedom to set my own schedule and do what I want to do when I want to do it, how I want to do it, like there's sacrifices I'm gonna have to take, right? And one of those sacrifices was taking a whole lot of little pay. It felt like fishing every single day, right? But which taught me a certain grit, taught me a certain grind, taught me a certain like mindset to change, like because at some point it's like, yeah, I can't keep on doing this. This is like
It's
it's
unsustainable.
not sustainable, right? This is just me trying to survive. I wasn't in that mindset of like
Thriving.
exactly. And then I didn't know that this opportunity was available. We had somebody hit me up, and they're like, "Hey, we got this opportunity here at this dojo to help it grow, and it has something that'll be able to take care of you and all that." And
It was across the street from where I used to work at.
right, it's crazy. So like, I went from being self-employed to then being a martial arts instructor. Mind you, I've taught before that. I've taught at an after-school program, and I've taught private lessons and other
plenty of
things.
private
But
lessons.
I hadn't taught as much as him.
Because I started in 2017 teaching martial arts. I started part-time first.
But I'm catching up. I'm catching up on how many classes I'm teaching, and I
He's never
like
gonna
to say
catch me,
I'm really a great, better teacher than him. So.
We'll give him that bone.
Because that's all I'm doing right now, and I love it. Like, it's crazy how much energy it gives me. Just before we're shooting this is late at night,
It is late at night. It's
And-
1, 2, 3.
and it's after I taught 6 classes a day, and then yesterday I taught 5 classes, and then the day before that I taught 6 classes,
Yeah.
and then tomorrow I got to teach 5 classes, and then
It's the spirit that you got to have
then
to keep on,
in
and the
between
body
that,
too.
there's
Yeah.
private lessons in between all of that. So like, what teaching has been such a gift has taught me is how to actually direct, because I got to direct these students in how to move, and I got to teach them how to learn something that's actually going to work, and I can't teach them wrong, right? So I'm learning how to direct them. I'm learning how to collaborate. I'm learning how to work with a bunch of different personalities and people, not only the students, but the people who bring them, their parents that are there, that are sitting there watching. And it brings me so much joy in life, because I love giving back to the younger people, because I was a kid at once, and I was a kid doing martial arts at once, and I knew how impactful martial arts was for me when I was young, and we both know that.
Which is why we continue to teach. And when I teach martial arts, the reason that I continue to teach is because I wanted to become the teacher that I wish I had. Not saying the teachers that I had weren't good, because they all, if you put them all together, they all helped make who I was, make who he was. But now, like, how can we be even better than that? How can I take the knowledge I have and give it to these students and make them better? And hopefully they can get better than me one day. And that doesn't start all the time when they're older. It can happen when they're older. If you go back, look at our session with Master Frankie. She started martial arts at 43. So it doesn't matter what age you start, but what you have to renew is your thought process of starting something new.
Yes, and at a young age, like a lot of these students that I do have, like the ones who come in and come to work, they want to work, but then there's the students who just have no motivation. And oh no, it died.
You have batteries?
Hopefully. All right. We were talking. Sorry.
Hold on 1 second.
Sorry. The mic got cut. The mic got cut off because the new equipment, we're learning how to use it, and the battery died.
Technical difficulties happen, and that's what editing is for.
And that's why we come prepared. So we were talking about I was talking about teaching, and then he was talking about just him.
How I
being
started,
a teacher, right?
So started in 2017 as a part-time instructor, and then started going full-time instructing, teaching at after-school programs. There was a point where I had one every weekday. I'd go to a different school, drive to that school to teach the after-school program, then drive to the Dojang, because it was a Taekwondo place, and teach the classes there. And then there was a point where I was doing that job. We were also in school online. So we were in school online after we graduated in 2015. Went back to school online. We also worked at FedEx. And then I also started working at the martial arts school. And then there was something else too.
Yeah, I had different jobs in between that. So we worked at FedEx. I quit that. Then I was working for Amazon customer service online, and we were like, of course, like.
And videography jobs in between, and trying to
yeah.
get on music videos, and like the B.O.B. music video, the Peter music video,
and any work that could keep us in contact with the entertainment industry. Like there's a whole we sacrificed time and did a lot of background work, did a lot of extra work. I'm not ashamed of that.
I'm not. It was a big part of the journey. There's a lot of great.
We met a whole lot of
that.
people, learned about how movie sets work, learned about the different types of movie sets, learning about the different budgets and no budget, this budget, that budget, and informed us even more about our understanding of being in that industry.
Now we've been, I'm not going to say out of it, because we're still in contact with those, with people in the industry, and it's still something that we want to do, but we're not actively chasing it because God has our calling somewhere else. God has us called to do what we are doing right now. And those things that will come, but right now we are a staple in the communities where our dojos are settled.
So, a staple. You know what that makes me think about? Being grounded, being immovable, and the martial art mindset is what helped us, especially through the pandemic, like keeping us grounded.
That's what I was going to say. That's what it was. So I was working at the Taekwondo school. I was also working at FedEx. And then I was also helping start Toshindo School, which is another martial arts school, for free on like 2 days a week while doing all of those things, plus our projects and everything else. So like had a full busy schedule. And when I would go home late at night, I would do solo martial arts training.
I still do that to this day.
Yes, to this day.
To this day.
Still do martial arts training.
Yeah, just wake up, and even after I get done teaching, I'll be like, all right, taught 27 classes this week. What do I want to do?
I'll go home and look at videos just stuck on YouTube, just looking at analysis videos of martial arts and fights and boxing and history, and look at how bad fights look. Look at amateur fights. Like, it don't matter to me what kind of martial arts it is.
Right. I just love it, and it's not the violence of it. It's just I understand how bad that could be, and when you see that pain, it's like, ooh, how do I not let that happen to me?
Oh, and the best way to not let that happen to you is don't be in that situation.
Don't be in that. So talk about situations.
Situations will arise in our lives, but you gotta be smart about it.
Celebration with the guys, or the twins.
So you gotta be smart about it. See,
I lived a life here, and I love it. And I experience real-ish. So don't you know, you don't have to call. No. I'ma be my ride tonight. I said my ride because tonight we tripping right now. All right, this is just being silly because We're actually trying to avoid what we're talking about. Just
I
to
know,
be
right?
honest.
Sorry, y'all. Okay, so
What,
breath.
What are we avoiding? All right, it's called
we've been
cut your
avoiding because we
losses.
wanted. Yeah, we already knew going into this.
It's going to be tough for us because
On the car, yeah,
we
on
want to
the-
be able to be vulnerable with you all that are listening, that are watching, because that the only way to be able to apply the mindset within life is that you got to understand life.
You got to go through struggles.
So
You gotta
wanna
be-
rock,
you gotta
paper,
be
scissors
tested.
to
You gotta
see
be
who goes
tested.
first?
I'm gonna drop heavy stuff first if I go first.
We'll
Are we
see.
doing 2 out of 3? Look at us stalling again.
Stalin, avoidance. All right, step
Not Joseph
one,
Stalin, just
being
Stalin.
mindful of your avoidant behavior. Which
We're trying to cut that out.
I was not.
No, it's
and
not.
I'll when I talk about, I'll share why. All right, and all right, that's one. Dee, da, boo, ba.
Wow, wow, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Wow, 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 wow.
I get to choose. You go first.
Dang. Okay, I said I was going to start heavy. One reason, this is not cutting a loss, but one reason I've been MIA is because I had a beautiful daughter that is 2 years old now.
She's beautiful. She's
She's
a
the
cute thing.
cutest.
So I
Out
wouldn't
of
say
privacy for her, I'm not going to show images of her or say her name, but she is the greatest gift. She is an amazing little human being.
So you're saying she's great, but why are you saying you're lost that you're cutting?
I have to cut so many of these habits that don't serve me. It's really don't serve her by me having them. So, for example, I don't know if you can tell, and people that have seen me, you said it earlier, like, yeah, dang, Kevin, you lost some weight. And I'm not depressed. There are times when I do get depressed that I don't eat and then just lose a lot of weight. This time is just overworked, a lot of things happening, but part of the journey, part of it, okay? But my eating habits aren't the best. I didn't set when I was younger good breakfast patterns or lunch or this or that. So that's not good when you have a child that you're trying to make sure grows healthy. So I had to cut those habits out that don't serve me anymore because they're going to hurt her. And that's just like a small example of it.
So what's been the most difficult part for you?
The time, any new parent knows the time that you don't spend around family at first or friends if you don't have the support system around for that, if that makes sense. So just
And where was the support system? What is that?
the support system wasn't there because I didn't allow it. So earlier you were talking about avoidant things. I would avoid certain things like telling my family that I'm about to have a child because of shame, because of guilt.
Can I share my part in that? Well, because one.
I shared it with him quickly. He was the first one.
he-
I didn't waste time with him
And I'm
because I
like-
trust him. So
And so, like, I was like, hey, it's not my business to tell anybody, but, like, you told me you probably should tell somebody. You got, like, 3 months. And I was like, hey, you should probably tell somebody. You got the 6 months. I was like, yo, you should probably tell somebody. And what ended up happening?
what ended up happening is that I was not as prepared as I could have been and had to deal with a lot of the consequences of that financially, spiritually, emotionally, because of my avoidant behavior, which was avoiding connection out of fear that I wouldn't be good enough, that I should be shameful of my actions, that I'm having a child out of wedlock.
And where'd that fear derive from?
Society, movies, Just hearing arguments, drama of what other people see, like,
Let me ask you this
you know?
instead. What fear? Where did that fear derive from? You're saying that. I'm thinking. I'm more saying. Do you feel? I'm asking, and then you can elaborate. Do you feel like? But not saying that. Do you feel like? I'm trying to find the right words because it's a sensitive topic. Do you feel like you've made the best decision?
no.
Okay, and why is that? I don't know
Because-
why it took me so long to think of that. But it's one because
No,
like,
okay,
we're going to talk
let me-
about
let me-
it a
let me
little
talk
bit,
about-
But yeah,
I don't think I made the best decision in how I went about it.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter, I saw her face before she was even born.
how's that possible?
She just is a vision.
Vision.
3 to 5 years before she was born, I saw her face, and when I saw her face when she was born, I was like, dang, that was meant to be.
Spirit.
But the part that could have been better was the planning. I could have planned better. And where I'm realizing where I'm had a lot of growth is understanding the importance of calendars and planning and scheduling. Because really, if you want to have success, you need to schedule it. We scheduled this podcast to be able to get it shot. Because before, when we did it before, we scheduled things, but then life started hitting us. We stopped scheduling, and then this drifted away and slipped out of our hands, and we dropped it.
And yeah, I feel like it was both of us in our doing that made it happen because what ended up happening with me, just on the flip side, so when 2 years ago during the pandemic, like I made a bad decision. I made poor planning because this is my thing. Now we played rock paper scissors, and it was gone. Balls in my court. I made bad decisions because I decided to elope with somebody that I truly was not fit to marry, or they were truly not fit to marry
So,
me, or we had that compatibility was a facade in my head. And what ended up happening, we eloped, didn't get the family support like I expected, and so what did I do? Avoid family. But then, on the flip side of that too, when the pandemic hit, and like nobody expected it to happen, and you hear the divorce rates are getting a whole lot higher, and I'm in that percentage of being a divorcee, right? And that was one of my biggest fears in my life.
And why was that? Why is it?
Because I made it a goal in my life when I was younger that, I'm never going to get divorced. Whoever I choose to marry, that's who I'm going to marry. And I think that carried over into making a bad decision because it was a decision that I made on my own, and I didn't get correct consultation, or I didn't pay attention to the signs and a bunch of red flags that I overlooked. And I overlooked them because of learning terrible patterns of how to read people, because the way we were raised, the way we grew up, again, we grew up in Alabama, but we were also
Not just Alabama.
raised in we were raised in a military family, so we traveled every 2 or 3 years and moved and had to adapt to.
We had to learn how to
different
cut
places.
losses young.
Yeah, so like I think we were so used to structure and like our dad making sure we were busy, or he was teaching us, or he was
Yelling
on us
at
all
us
the
about
time.
something.
Like, and making sure we
And
had
then not just
discipline.
him, he had our sisters on us, and he was on our sisters. And
And he's just, it was a whole bunch of just making sure we had that discipline. We had he was trying to raise us up, and I think I had expectations that out in the real world, now that I'm older, now I'm in my 20s, like, people should get it like I get it. Like, so like we should be trying to work together, especially if we're in a relationship, and like, all of this. And sheesh, I was a bad apple chooser. I'll just say that. I chose some bad apples.
And that's not even including the toxic traits that we had ourselves that we didn't know because we weren't taught the skills to cope deal with or manage those.
and be able to read that. But what did help us is one, we never let go of our martial arts training. We never let go of our roots, because I felt like if I let that go at
You
one
can't
point,
cut that out. That's not a
I would
loss.
have lost myself.
That's not a
I would have
loss.
lost myself. And thinking deeper and going into the training, the reason why I trained, one, is just when I was training and I was upset, and on those nights when we argue all week, you know what I mean? Like
You're talking about you and
previous person, yeah, my
ex-wife. Just say it.
ex-wife.
Just say it out
That's
loud. Just say it out
crazy to
loud.
Say, oh.
Just say it out loud.
Because if you notice on the podcast, yeah, I just now noticed like.
Oh,
free-
look at the
free
previous
finger.
ones.
Yeah, look at the. It's a free hand. And,
Before, not a free hand.
Ooh, and it's crazy how in my body still sometimes I feel the weight of that, because I'm still in the process of healing from a lot of the pain that goes with just honestly trying to tolerate just toxins, just trying to tolerate that coming from somebody else. And because we had a high tolerance, because we would be extremely toxic to each other when we were younger, not
And it didn't.
realizing it.
Yeah, and we're not the only ones.
Yeah,
Mm.
like we're brothers at time, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I just want to bring up like the martial art mindset really kept me grounded, because it allowed me to be able to stay focused in the midst of the high anxiety that I would have wherever I would go, and when I had that dark cloud over my head.
And then even for
And
me,
I can even see the dark cloud.
Exactly.
Because I was so focused in it, but I wasn't so lost to a point that I felt like doing anything like harming myself or harming other people or anything like
I
that.
actually felt that at one point. Remember I told you about that?
Why? And why was that? Why did you feel that?
It was because I was so stressed out and alone, and I perpetuated my own purgatory. Because when you feel something, you want to confirm it to yourself. Like, I'm not good enough. How do I show to myself I'm not good enough? Oh, I didn't get the dishes done. I didn't get the dishes done, so I'm not good enough.
That means you're a piece of trash, huh?
So I'm a piece of trash because I didn't take the trash out. Oh, I didn't take the trash out. Oh, I forget. It's just a perpetual circle that I was stuck in, and that gets tiring to stay in. And stay in that loop, not getting enough sleep because you got babies crying, right? Still got to go to work, full-time job. I was driving all over Atlanta, just to go back and forth. So the suicidal thoughts started one day when I was just walking. Drove to work, parked the car, and I was walking into the building, and it just happened. And when I had the thought, I was like, that is not my thought.
You had to go inside your spirit and in your mind and in your body, feel that, and then in your mind tell yourself, that's not mine.
And then what I did after that is schedule some therapy sessions so I can actually start building up my mental. I knew when I was at that point, that's when I needed therapy, which means we can do therapy anytime. Just like you can get massage therapy anytime, you can get aromatherapy, all these different kinds of therapy. You can get mental therapy anytime. And that's a time that I really needed it, and it really, really helped out.
And so let's talk about something. We used to be at odds with each other for a long time, like for a very long time. And that stifled our work. That stifled us to even be able to communicate. That made us more dysfunctional. And I feel like, and this is just for our whole family, period, I feel like ever since we witnessed our mom dying of cancer in 2014, like since that's almost 9 years ago. September would be 9 years ago. When we lost her, it felt like we lost a staple within our family.
Yeah.
Because being a military family, and you're used to that unit, and that unit goes that you stay together.
You stay together.
You didn't have anybody else.
We moved to Korea, and guess what was the same? Our family. We moved to Louisiana, Fort Polk, all these mosquitoes. Guess what? We're all getting bit together as a family. In Washington State, all these white people don't know anybody, but we know our family. Alabama,
7
I don't
or 8
understand.
different elementary schools.
Yeah.
witnessing racism in a lot of different places, and our dad teaching us how to overcome those things. But
And our mom was
being there.
she was the peace. Okay, our dad was the fire and the sun, and our mom was the moon and the peace.
For at least for us,
Yeah, for us.
we would
you know,
see our dad.
yeah,
And
and
mom get into it from time.
our dads probably saw our moms. He told us our mom's dark side, but everybody has that side.
That's between them.
But she was for me. You know, I was mama's boy. Everybody said that. I was just mama's boy. Everybody knew that. So it was like really hard for me.
And it also tore us apart because as we started growing up, because she didn't get to witness us graduate college.
She was almost there she almost was alive for it.
Almost just right there, right?
The reason we didn't take a break from school to process what was happening,
because she didn't want us to.
she really didn't. That was her
She
thing.
was like, no, she didn't even stop working until she couldn't work anymore. And we used to take her when we were in high school to her chemotherapy treatments and other things like that.
And I used to think that was normal. Like,
Yeah, it's
people they're supposed to take their mom to chemotherapy.
I don't know about thinking that it was normal. It was just like, this is what we're doing now.
It's just
This
what
is
our life is.
and not knowing that it's not getting any better.
Because
until
that
it
happened
wasn't.
for high school through college.
And one thing I wish, and I was just thinking about this, like being 30 years old, I was like, I wish I could have asked my mom about some woman advice,
Yeah,
like for real. I didn't, because she would have told me straight.
she would have. She was so straight to the point
And-
with us as a family. Like I remember one time we were getting pizza somewhere. My brother and I, we told we were at odds at each other. This was one day we were just with our mom. She drove us to the mall, and we were bickering, arguing back and forth. We're getting food the whole time. We're bickering, arguing back and forth. We sit at the table. And we're still going back and forth. And then our mom looks at us and says, "Hey, you two, stop arguing like little bitches."
She did. It was so funny. She said it, and then we were like, she never said that to us before. She means it. Yeah, so
And then we just started laughing.
just
And she said that, but dissipated our argument. And
Mm-hmm.
we stopped arguing after that.
But unfortunately, because of life, and we're gonna wrap this up soon. Because of life, and us being so used to being together, and being told like, "Hey, you're gonna make it successful together." Like we had a twin separation anxiety because as
we
we
didn't even
grew
know it.
older, and I was dating this person, and he felt alone, so he would project that feeling onto me, and then it would end up us going back and forth to argue. And I had anger issues, like really bad anger issues,
Really bad.
really like terrible.
To
It
the
was-
point, there was something that happened between us that really, for me, catalyzed the angst that we had between each other. And it was this one time we were in the car, and I remember I was sleeping. I woke up yelling because I thought he was going to hit the car in front of us. Woke up yelling, "Stop, stop, stop," because I was scared, projecting my fear on him. It was really, I just woke up from a dream. That's really what happened. But it startled him, and he got very upset and yelled at me about it. And then I forget what I did. Hear what happened.
we knew how to push each other's buttons, but
And please, if you know how to push somebody's button,
don't do it.
please don't do it.
Don't do it. You're asking for it.
It's so easy to press because it's a big red button. That big red shiny button, that's so easy to press to hurt that person.
Because
We did it last night.
we were arguing.
We were arguing last night. We haven't argued
in
in-
a long time,
yeah.
but I think that was just also a spiritual thing, like from trying to stop us from doing this. Because if we're going to bring up talking about the past, it's going to bring up like pain for him, pain for me. But
And one of the biggest pain points of, if we want to give us small details about last night, one of the biggest things we dealt with wasn't necessarily the problems, it was the behaviors when dealing with the communications of problems. So one thing that is big, and not so much now because we're learning to deal with it, but cutting each other off when we're speaking.
it's funny because we have so much patience for a stranger, but sometimes we don't even have patience enough for our family members, and let alone patience enough for ourselves. So like, and when I'm thinking about mom dying, about being broke and struggling and scraping by, and then going through a divorce, and then having a baby out of wedlock, and thinking about all these different things. It's like, what is going to last is that steady, grounded mindset and your character and the integrity you hold. I think it's hard because just like Jesus was tested, we get tested too.
We're made to bear our own cross, and it's not easy actually to be a Christian. If it was, everybody would.
You know, it's also not easy to be
What?
a martial artist.
It's not.
So like, life put us in a chokehold,
And our foundation kept us alive.
and we got through it. It was a tumultuous time, but just like he had to cut his hair, we had to cut all those
Cut
old
those
behaviors.
losses.
We had to cut old beliefs. We had to be able to push ourselves to the next level and get grounded spiritually. We find God, and Jesus is one who keeps us grounded spiritually.
Every day, not just a one-off thing. That's one thing about growth, guys. It's like a plant. You can't just water a plant one time and expect it to continue to survive. You have to continually water it. You have to continually repot it. You have to get a bigger pot if it needs a bigger pot to grow, which means you might have to expand your own pot. That pond you're in is too small now. It's time for you to go into a lake. Time for you to get into a river. Time for you to go into that ocean.
And this is why we want to create this podcast, is because we're seeing the ripples that we're making in the community that we're in. Even though we had these dreams to be this movie star on this thing and that thing, it's like, you know what?
And be
I
those
actually-
twins like that.
I need to be in this community where I am right now, because I see the difference that I'm making in this child's life, and this student's life, and this teenager's life, and even this adult's life.
And that all came from the foundation of martial art mindset.
And so even though it's been 2 years and we haven't shot anything, and this is the latest thing that we've shot, we have learned so much about martial arts. And not
And it's
only
not
were
even-
we building
we're
up our
living it. We're
mind,
living it.
we have been consistently building up our skills, and teaching has taken those skills to another level.
Teaching all levels.
All levels, ages 3 and up. Sometimes a 2.5-year-old.
I was about to say, 2.5-year-old, throw that in there. Yeah.
Yes. So thank you all for listening to this session of Martial Art Mindset. We
Cut your losses. Oh, and one thing I want to say before we do that, you want to cut your losses, but keep
your hair.
what is good, because those good things will grow.
Look, his hair's gonna come back,
It's gonna grow back.
right? It's gonna grow back better. That thing that you cut off in your brain, guess what? That muscle in your brain is gonna grow back into something that actually is useful and functional for you. So cut your losses correctly to look for your growth.
And this is our session of martial art mindset. Cut your losses. Let's go ahead and end with our mantra:
Mind,
body.
spirit.
I use my mind to think,
I use my body to move.
and I use my spirit to spread love.
Let's thank you all for listening to Martial Art Mindset. Make sure you like and subscribe wherever you're listening to, and if you're watching. So thank you all again.
My name is Calvin,
My name is Kevin,
and we are,
the Blasian Twins,
Twins.
and that's actually Kevin.
and that's actually Calvin.
Peace.